All right, so y'all know how we feel about like edgy jokes and stuff like that on this channel. We have conversations about that all the time. But something that was sent to me in the Katt Williams interview was him talking about the scene in Friday in the bathroom. Oh, snap. Let me see.
A lot of people say Cube doesn't pay. What's your relationship with Cube, and what did that opportunity mean for you?
Well, the ungrateful bastards that would say anything about Cube's payment, you shouldn't even talk to them anymore. Like you don't go to Goodwill, you don't go to a Goodwill thrift store and go, look at all this cheap ass shit. Why don't you shut up? Why don't you shut up? You could have went to Hermes. Why you didn't go to Balenciaga? Why you didn't get a vote of the Balmain you want?
This isn't the main part. I think this might be the main part.
To be one. But we miss John Witherspoon in a way that can't really be quantified, if I'm being honest with you. And the Chris Tucker that we got now is Epstein Island Chris Tucker, not Smokey.
Oh, Lord.
Whew. If I didn't know no better, I'd tell you he's the greatest. I don't care what you say.
Come on.
Skill. Most of these confident people we see is really delulu.
Well, you don't think they asked Chris Tucker to come back in the second
thing. Okay. Here's the thing. Chris was allowed to make the decision. At the time that this is happening, Katt Williams is known for smoking weed. Willie Nelson Tucker didn't want to be the poster child for smoking weed.
I got all the rest of them. I done got the ones.
I promise you, everybody trying to double back. And that's what Ricky Smiley was okay with.
All right, here we go. I think this is it.
The truth of the matter is, the Money Mike in the original script got raped in the bathroom. And that's what Ricky Smiley was okay with. Katt Williams had to take the risk in front of the studios and the cast and our powers that be in his very first movie and say respectfully, humbly, guys, if we're talking about anything else, I have no credibility and I have no pull. But we're talking about comedy, where I have all the credibility and all the pull. The problem with Friday After Next is we're trying to make a classic comedy. And this comedy involves a rape. And rape is never funny, no matter who it happens to or what the circumstances are. If you would allow me to allow us to do this movie without a black man getting raped in it, I promise you that it will be twice as funny as it would be with him getting raped. So considering that's the real story, why would you bring up that story? 35 members of the cast and crew have never brought up that Ricky Smiley was gonna play Money Mike. No one ever saw me put on a Santa Claus suit. We got a wardrobe department. They made a Santa Claus suit for me. Why that wasn't in the bloopers? Why? And here's the other thing. Everything that
I think that's the main part of it. That's the gist of the conversation. So the conversation is, you know, is grape funny? I know that sounds like a crazy thing to say. Can you joke about these things? Can you tell stories about these things? Can you talk about these things or whatever the case may be? Is this stuff funny? I mean, the simple answer is no, right? The simple answer is no. However, there are always depictions of some of this stuff in Hollywood. And I think that people don't realize how desensitized to it we are. How desensitized to it we are. You can tell these stories without going into detail on these things. You can tell these stories about going into some of these situations. It doesn't even necessarily have to be male on male, but I think that the conversation about it being male on male is an interesting one, because we also have the conversation about how serious people take real life male sexual assault. If you tell somebody that you got sexually assaulted as a man, then it is what it is. Like, people laugh it off. You didn't really get that. She didn't really do that to you. A woman could never do that to you. But it's because we make so light of it. We joke about it all the time. We depict it as if it's just a thing that happens. And it's okay that it's a thing that happens. Even if it's not in like a funny manner, even in a serious manner. You can tell the story of somebody getting attacked without showing all of the details of somebody getting attacked. You can tell the story that, hey, somebody got SA'd or graped or whatever without showing all the details. Y'all ever been watching a movie and or you may have heard that, hey, this scene is coming up and this person does get, SA'd or graped or something happens, and you're watching it and you're thinking to yourself, okay, they're gonna cut it right here. They're gonna cut it right now. They're gonna cut it. Oh, and it's still going. And then you're like, okay, they're gonna showing a lot, but you're gonna cut it. And then it's still going, and it's like, okay, I get the gist, but we can cut it. Players Club was one of them. It was like, okay, this is the entire, like, this is really drug out. This is crazy uncomfortable. I could only imagine if I was somebody who experienced this watching this. And you'll get those that are like, the edgy fringes of the society. People tell you, yo, it's okay. Like, everything is up to joke. But why are these people who haven't experienced these traumas able to say, like, yo, this is fine. We should be able to joke about this. If you've never experienced this trauma. I want to see this real quick. I just Googled.
Explain to me what you're doing here.
I came looking for booty.
Isn't yours, is it? Because therein lies the joke, right? Your lack of choice. That and the Booty Bandit's ravenous obsession with booty. Chris Hanson's booty, to be specific. It's weird. Somebody needs to study that. I'm sorry, what? Oh, they have. Oh, well, more on that in just a moment. I'm sorry. I don't know why I laughed at that. We all know that there's nothing funny about abuse of any kind, right? Except maybe when the victims of said abuse are the unprotected or the unsuspected.
There's a serial rapist in Houston. There's nothing funny about serial, but what is noteworthy about this particular is that all of his victims have been men. Enjoy your evening.
You know what I think is noteworthy about Dave Chappelle's joke and the audience's response to it? It highlights the crux of the issue. If we intuitively know that grape is wrong, right? And that in many respects, it's one of the darkest ways to victimize someone. Why do we laugh? Well, the answer is simple, right? Patriarchy is the punchline. In a strongman society, the audience has long since been indoctrinated to believe that men are not supposed to be victimized in general, right? And certainly not victims or survivors of SV. And the ones who do, i.e. queer men, trans men, black men, men of color, well, I mean, it's okay to laugh at that. We always do. Even as kids, we come to understand that boys are not meant to engage with pain in the same way that girls do. So when you see your dad hugging and kissing your sister's boo-boos and patting you on the back, giving you a light-skinned Band-Aid and telling you to run along, you get it.
And I think to add, and we have never watched this guy's videos before. Not saying we're gonna watch it. I just saw it. It was an interesting title, and I'm sure he had something to add to the conversation. I think it's interesting the way that we take things so light, specifically for the groups that he denoted in this conversation, because I had the same sentiments when there was the 30th Jeffrey Dahmer documentary or the 30th Jeffrey Dahmer docuseries. The idea that we continuously dramatize, acts of SV, sexual violence, or whatever the case may be, the idea that we continue to make fun of it, the idea that we continue to do these things, only puts us further into these cycles of like trauma, of oppressing people, of silencing voices, of all these things. And we get away from actually actively helping the people that need help. You know?
You understand. And if that sounds too specific not to be personal, it's because it is. Even as kids, we understand that boys don't cry and that they always want it. And I do mean always want it, even when they look like they don't.
Today's lesson, Touchy Feely 101.
Wait, I haven't studied for this lesson!
Of course that isn't true, right? There are many instances in which men don't want it. Otherwise, how do we get numbers like almost 30% of American men experiencing rape, physical violence, or stalking by an intimate partner in their lifetime? And that doesn't even begin to graze the surface of the real issue, because we don't have the systems, services, or societal support necessary for many men to feel like they can come and speak out. We're not prepared to hear them, but that issue too becomes comedized.
7 men have already come forward in the Houston area and reported this, which means he must have thousands. That's a tough phone call for us to make. Society don't give a fuck about male rape. There's no hotline for us. If man get raped, you just gotta get up and walk that shit off. Call me slipping.
Male abuse victims and the jokes that surround them serve to support the same myths that sustain rape culture, that reduce allyship, and that delegitimize the experiences of so many men who've, encountered this thing.
So I saw somebody earlier. This is prototype. So do you think it shouldn't be in stories, fictional specifically? I think that there's a way to depict what's being talked about without traumatizing or triggering people. But I often think the way that it's being done is, very distasteful. It's without conscious, it's without empathy, it is without sympathy, or whatever, however you use those words. Nobody ever knows how to use those words. They're interchangeably. So kind of like how you just showed the Ed, Ed and Eddie clip. These are the small steps that build up to it. Ed, Ed and Eddie, in a strange way, like a strange cartoon for kids, depicted these 3 boys always getting attacked by these 3 girls in what was depicted as like a romantic way. They were always forcing themselves onto these boys. And, sometimes on Ed, Ed and Eddie, just like on that clip that they showed, they would go to the back, right? They would go to the back of the bathroom, and then maybe some noises would be made, and the girls would walk out, and the boys would come out, and they would have lipstick marks all over them. And mind you, those are unwanted sexual advances from those young men, or performed on those young men by those young girls. And those should be things that are taken more seriously or are reportable, or et cetera, et cetera. But based off of how society is set up, how things are structured, nobody would ever take that seriously. So then this kind of tumbles into how, young men, specifically black men, get hypersexualized, is because at every single step we are okaying everything that they've got going on. We are okaying, oh, she kissed you, she smacked your butt, she rubbed up on your penis. Take that. You should take that. Why are you running away from that? What are you, gay? Like, do you not like girls? What's wrong with you? Something is wrong with you. You should always want sexual advances from women, even if they're, not your type. You don't feel like it now. I think that it's strange that we come on these platforms and we joke about these things. I saw a TikTok that was turned into a tweet that came across my timeline, or maybe it wasn't a TikTok. Have y'all seen this? Y'all seen this one? This is a strange TikTok. This is, hey there. And apparently this is talking about some TV show they're referencing or whatever the case may be. But does everything have to be recreated? There's such thing as like spousal grape, marital grape. It's all those things are real. Look at this. Look at this. Does every skit have to be created? I guess it's a reference to Raising Kanan or whatever. Look at this. Look at this. This woman is actively fighting, and this is supposed to be some funny, recreatable skit. I'm personally not a proponent. Y'all know how I feel. Everything is not a comedy. Everything is not some form of comedy. And somebody wanted to put this in the chat as well. The flip version of this. The flip version of this. It's all the same thing. But we're supposed to feel like because, I gotta laugh out of it. It's all comedy. I don't think everything is funny. I think we should get away from the idea that everything is funny. We should have sympathy or empathy for people. We should also just understand that, the more these things happen, and it's sad to say, like, when it happens to you, people will take you less seriously, because of the situation. Because it's always joked about, because it's always seen about that. You can't get raped by your wife. You can't rape your wife. That's your wife. It's a nasty idea. That's disgusting.